All right, welcome to the maiden voyage of the Commissioner Evaluation Trade Show, the Day Trader Show. I'm John McGlynn, and you can find me on the Twitter machine at JohnMcGlynn75, and I get the pleasure of discussing trades on this new show with my home league adversary, Scott Sidlow, where you could also find on the Twitter machine at Scott Sidlow, at Scott_Sidlow. We're going to examine some trades that went down in our home leagues, our online leagues, and then we'll look into some players who have controversial values right now in the dynasty leagues. All these leagues are presumed to be PPR, tight end premiums, 0.75, Superflex, with 12 teams and around 30 players. So, Scott, tell the world where they could find you at, what's going on with you in your life in the Twitter world.
What's up, man? Yeah, I mean, we talk about trades all the time. We're always BSing, and so I figured, hey, why not? Let's do a podcast with it. Let's see if we can help some people out. So trade shows are always fun. You know, people love to hear about the trades that are actually going down in leagues, and so we can bring some value to the people. My whole thing and what I do is I want to bring actionable advice, and so that's something that I've always prided myself on since starting podcasting a few years ago. You can find me. Generally, Dynasty Junkies is my main podcast. We're part of the DAP network. You can hear us live on Thursday nights, generally starting around 8:30 Central Time, 9:30 Eastern Time. Tonight, Thursday the 24th, we actually have Matt Waldman on, so it's going to be an awesome show. And we're going to try to keep ourselves from talking so we can listen to the amazing Matt Waldman and all the amazing things he has to say tonight. So
I love
this is going to be fun, John. I appreciate you putting this together, and I think we're going to be able to have some fun and help some people out. So let's get to it, man.
What a perfect time of the year to have Matt Waldman on a show. That's a guy that knowledgeable.
So excited.
Rookie season. I'll be at work tonight listening, so I can't wait for it.
Yes.
So let's talk about some home league trades first of all. Stuff that went down in our home leagues. I got a couple here. No names involved. I'm not throwing anybody under the bus or complimenting anybody or saying good job or you got somebody. It's not my job to roll the carpet out and put people on it. So let's start with Juju Smith-Schuster and Miles Sanders for Nick Chubb.
Wow.
So this was a kind of a shock and awe when it went across the message board that it got accepted. But, it just feels like the time to sell Nick Chubb in a lot of leagues right now. People are kind of getting a little scared. His contract's up next year. He's not a PPR guy. And to be fair, the guy that had Nick Chubb has a couple of other really good PPR backs on his roster. So Nick Chubb is kind of expandable. But I'm not a big, humongous fan of Juju and Miles Sanders. As much as I like Miles Sanders over the years, he's kind of proved himself for what he is. And he's already, there's on his own team right now. I'm not sure he's even the number one anymore. So how do you feel about that trade?
Yeah. I think one of the things that the listeners are going to notice here is a lot of these players aren't necessarily sexy players, but this is the time of year where we're going to be talking about free agents, guys that have coaching changes, different scenarios. This is where we add the most value. And so one of the things we'll be talking about is running backs. And Nick Chubb is right at that age where if you don't get a good return for him now, you're probably just going to be stuck holding on to him because his value is going to start to drop. Now, to me, I think this was an undersell on Nick Chubb. I know he doesn't catch a lot of passes, but the guy gets work, man. And that offense runs through him in the running game. Looks like Baker's going to be back for another year, which is really just good news for Chubb because they're going to lean on him as much as they can. So to me, to move a guy who's a free agent who made a poor decision in free agency last time, speaking of Juju, and then a guy who's basically running out of juice with his own franchise there with Miles Sanders, I would absolutely take the Chubb side in this deal, as a contender for sure. If I'm rebuilding, I don't think it's enough rebuilding or retooling. It's not enough return for me for Nick Chubb. I would probably wait until later in the season when his value's higher, or maybe even right around the rookie draft where you could trade him for a rookie pick or add in one of your rookie picks and maybe move to a younger back. So yeah, I'm 100% on the Nick Chubb side here. And I don't think there's there's no gray area for me.
I think people believe that Juju's going to land in a really good spot and just become a PPR machine somewhere. And I'm not sure that he'll ever have this. I'm not going to say ever, but where could Juju land that would make his value to make this trade work? Where do you see him falling or going?
Yeah, I mean, so last time he was a free agent last year, Baltimore offered him a ton of money and he didn't take it. We heard Kansas City offered him a contract.
Yeah, Kansas
And
City.
he didn't take it, which is why would you not go play with Patrick Mahomes? Like that is wild to me. And then the Jet, and I think they weren't offering him a long-term contract. I'm not sure on that. And the other team that we heard was the Jets, and they offered him a lot of money too. At the time, Jamison Crowder was there. So I mean, I understand that maybe he didn't want to go play for the Jets. I get that. Baltimore, maybe he didn't want to be in that passing offense. I could understand, but I mean, listen, you either got to get paid and help your family, or you got to go somewhere that's going to boost your value so you can get that, future big contract. So re-signing in Pittsburgh made no sense to me. But hey, whatever the guy wants to do. If the Chiefs make another run at him, I'd love to see him go there. I think even if I don't believe that he'll ever do what he did in the past, which I don't think he'll ever be that player.
Same page.
Playing with Mahomes is just going to boost his value enough that to me it's a sell opportunity. So that's the spot I think that would boost his value the most. Will he sign there? I don't know, because he obviously didn't sign there last time they offered him. So it's really hard to say. I've heard the Bears rumored, but who hasn't been rumored for the Bears, because they literally need any pass catcher they can get. I don't think that helps his value at all. I know he wants to stay in Pittsburgh. He's a loyal guy. He loves it there. He wants to be there. I don't know that they work that out. They don't have any money and they need a quarterback and they have so many other needs. So I know he wants to stay, but I don't think he's going to stay. And yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. Juju's a tough one. He needs to sign somewhere. And then honestly, I think pretty much anywhere he goes will increase his value. And then you could sell at that point.
All right. You got a trade? You want to go back and forth on the trades?
Yeah. Okay. So I don't have a wide receiver, so I'll go to my first one. I have a guy that, and we're talking super flex leagues. We want to get quarterbacks as cheap as possible. And it's pretty hard to trade for starting quarterbacks. But if you can find one in limbo that might be cheap enough to be a bridge quarterback, a guy like Jameis Winston is an opportunity to buy right now. Trade went down in one of my leagues. I should mention that I'm in I actually dropped out of some and I had some closed and whatever. So I'm down to about 40 leagues right now, but I'm doing some more startups. So I'll be back up to probably 50 for the season. But Jameis and a fourth for Kadarius Toney in a second. I might be a little biased on this because I was not a Toney fan at all. I have literally 0 shares of Toney. And for me to have 0 shares of anyone is saying something when you're in as many leagues as I am. So Toney in a second to get yourself a potential starting or bridge quarterback, or worst case scenario, a high-end backup that can fill in when a starter goes down. I think there's a really good chance he re-signs in New Orleans. Pete Carmichael staying on as the OC, so it's the same offense. The deal they signed with Taysom Hill is essentially it's a flexible deal where if he plays a certain amount of snaps at quarterback, he'll get paid more. They're not going to do that because they're like 70 million over the cap. So they can't even afford to make that happen. They're going to have to play him at tight end, wide receiver, H-back, whatever. And they're going to want a true quarterback in there. So I think they draft someone. Personally, I think New Orleans drafts someone. Jameis re-signs there and he's the bridge quarterback for a year or two. And, if he puts it together and sticks around, great. But even if I trade Toney in a second and I get a starting quarterback for 1 year, to me, that's definitely worth it. And then you could flip him if he resigns or if he's playing well, or it just gives you that other piece to get you through the season.
That's a steal the way it is right now. Is because I'm a humongous Jameis Winston fan. So as far as I'm concerned, yes, he'll probably be a starter somewhere. But if he lands in Pittsburgh or I don't want to get over my skis here and say like Denver or something like that, where he's just throwing the ball over the place. I mean, Jameis Winston, his value is it's not just where he's at in New Orleans would already be a steal, let alone one of those great spots.
Right. It's not going to get lower.
Right. This is a win-win situation for anybody who's buying the Jameis. I know he's 30 years old and, but he's I think being in New Orleans playing with Sean Payton for a year or so, I think he learned a lot. You saw when he first started the season out, a lot more patient. He was making better passes. I think Jameis learned a lot. He's ready to be a real franchise quarterback somewhere. So this is a great trade.
I agree 100%. Definitely got to get those quarterbacks cheap when you can. And listen, worst case scenario, he ends up as a backup somewhere. But honestly, I don't see that. There's so many teams that need quarterbacks right now. I really believe he's starting somewhere. So get out there
yards
and get those trades.
5,000 yards and 30 touchdowns. Even though the interceptions are probably never going to happen again, like at that rate. But I mean, that's a volume quarterback that can land anywhere and just fit right in. Trade number 2 for my home leagues: Elijah Moore for Jerry Judy and a 2023 third.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a pretty nice trade. What do you think about that?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the value in Judy right now is the fact that Denver's trying to sign somebody. You know, if they are able to pull off a Rodgers, a Wilson, a Watson, any of those type of players, then all those skill players just skyrocket. So I've seen everyone buying into Sutton and Fant and Judy and those guys. You know, Judy's been underwhelming for me in that rookie class. I had him ranked behind CeeDee Lamb. I was the CeeDee Lamb guy. So, you know, I think this is just a flip here. The third doesn't do much for me. So whatever. I think I'd actually take Elijah Moore. We know what he's locked into there in that offense. He's going to have some good volume, even if they draft or sign another, you know, X receiver. Moore's going to play from the slot. He'll be locked in with Zach Wilson for the next couple of years. That offense can really only improve at this point. So, yeah, I think I'll take Elijah Moore there, but I understand why you take the Judy side, especially with the third thrown on top. Yeah,
the third thrown on top, especially in next year's draft class, everybody's drooling over already. It's supposed to be pretty stacked, but you know, this draft class is, I'm not going to say it's good, but it's deep too. It's got a lot of volume players. Nobody's special, but there's a lot of depth in this class. But third class is supposed to be, you know, already rounds 1 and 2 are supposed to be better than most of this class already. So that is a little icing on the cake for that. Jerry Judy, I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure how patient you could be with him.
He hasn't been impressive.
No. So I think Elijah Moore is he's a Twitter darling. He's everybody's fan favorite right now. So that sways me a little bit more, but I like the guy. I'm Elijah Moore for me on this side too. So,
yeah. Well, and the other thing about Judy is, you know, people want to say, well, he hasn't had a quarterback, and like, okay, Teddy Bridgewater, I understand his limitations, but if you look back 2 years when Bridgewater was on Carolina, did you see what those wide receivers did? You know, yeah, Judy didn't come anywhere close to those numbers. You know, look at what he did with a shell of, oh my gosh. So DJ Moore, and then on the other side, the outside receiver there, Robbie Anderson. Yeah, look at what Robbie Anderson put up with Teddy Bridgewater 2 years ago, and you're telling me Judy couldn't even come close to those numbers. So yeah, I don't understand that at all. I also saw Judy giving up when he was playing with Drew Lock the previous year as a rookie. He would give up on routes, and you know, I understand Drew Lock's not good and he's not getting him the ball, but dude, you're gonna give up? I mean, as a rookie, that makes no sense.
And the Jerry Judy is supposed to be favored with, you know,
not a fan.
Yeah, Jerry Judy is supposed to be with Teddy Bridgewater. He was supposed to be, you know, be able to show off his skills, and that never really came into fruition either. So
yeah, for sure. Elijah Moore for me. So on this one, so.
Go ahead. Your second trade here.
All right. Perfect. Yeah. So the next side here, basically Alvin Kamara is an interesting one right now. He's got some legal thing going on. Honestly, to me, those are opportunities to buy the dip. You know, we saw it with guys like Tyreek Hill and Ezekiel Elliott over the past few years where they were getting traded for nothing. You know, obviously I understand what Kamara did, and I think there's video of it. So of course, anytime there's video, you kind of get into that Ray Rice situation, but whatever, there's going to be a lot of legal process with it, and it'll probably get settled or something. So Kamara probably gets like a 4 to 6 game suspension, and then maybe gets it reduced because he doesn't have any past history. So even if he misses a few games, Kamara's at the point, like we talked about Nick Chubb earlier, that if you can't get the return for him, which you can't right now because of these issues and everything else going on with the Saints, I'm probably looking to buy him.
Yes.
However, this trade that went down was Alvin Kamara for Calvin Ridley and the 207. So Ridley's another guy that we don't know what's going on with. He scares me a little bit, honestly. Anytime we're talking about mental health issues, anything like that, it's a serious thing, and it's really, really hard to say where he goes. You know, initially I kind of thought yeah, okay, I get it. This is a wasted season. Maybe he just steps away and gets his mind right and whatever. But if you look at it, the Falcons, go look at what they did last year. They were actually way better than anyone thought.
Yeah.
I think they ended up 7-10, and they were pretty competitive. And that division now is wide open. So the fact that he gave up on his team when they actually had a shot at the playoffs, and they're trying to build something there and mentor some of these young guys, it makes me a little nervous. Maybe there was too much pressure on him, whatever. And so obviously we take those things seriously, but it makes me a little nervous that, he couldn't handle it or whatever the case is. And so maybe they trade him. But man, I don't know whether he stays or goes. It's too much risk for me. So I think I'm going to stick with the Kamara side in this trade.
It's a little safer. I honestly think that Ridley this is a little more of a financial situation than a kind of getting his head right situation for me.
Okay.
I think he's okay. I think he'll be all right. I think he wanted a start somewhere new with a brand new contract and just kind of get away from Matt Ryan and the offense.
Hard to get paid if you don't play, though.
That's true, especially when and a lot of people don't want to take chances on guys who have past issues, whether it be mental, physical, anything like that. Yes, it's hard to really kind of put a big contract in somebody's hands that walked away from their team before. I get that. Kamara he's proved to be a rusher. He's proved to be a receiver. He's going to score you points. So in the I guess the short 1 or 2 year window that we're talking about in the dynasty situation, I'm going to take Kamara on this side also. It's almost like the sure thing. And I'm not sure I think he may get like you said before, a first time offense, maybe a 2 or 4 game suspension after an appeal, probably. So I don't see him being out. Some people are talking about a whole year and a half, that's not going to happen.
No, I don't see it.
I know that there's going to get something because it happened at the Pro Bowl, and Goodell's not going to he's not going to kind of set up precedents like, hey, this can't happen at NFL functions. So, but I don't think putting a team in the middle of Las Vegas is probably the best idea for the NFL. But it's it might be a problem from this going forward. But Kamara, I am going to say 2 games, maybe 3 games, and then he'll be back. And that's a little bit. He'll come in with fresh legs in the season. So,
right,
I'm good with that.
Yeah, and he'll be the offense. I mean, who else do they have at this point? So,
yeah, that's the problem. There's nobody else.
Yeah. So, who do you have for your last trade?
Derrick Henry for Davonte Smith and David Montgomery.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, it's I surprisingly, which I rarely trade for running backs, especially old running backs who have a ton of volume, but I traded Fournette for Henry at the deadline last year. A team needed a guy for the playoffs. He took Fournette, and I took Henry in that situation. I love that. I took advantage. I felt like it was a good deal for me, but otherwise, no, I'd like to sell him. Definitely, if you can get this kind of return. I still like Davonte Smith a lot. David Montgomery, he's on his last year here with the Bears. We got a new offense. We don't really know what to expect, but he should get a lot of work. Khalil Herbert's a nice piece behind him. But if Montgomery gets 60-70% of the touches in that offense, he's going to produce really well. He doesn't have the wear and tear as Henry. And getting Davonte Smith on top, you're taking a step down from Henry to Monty, but Davonte Smith is really filling that gap. Smith is a buy for me this offseason for sure because he's just so talented. He can get open. He can make plays. I don't necessarily believe in Hurts long term. So whether they continue to build around him and he develops, or maybe they bring in somebody else at some point. So I would take I'll take the Monty and Smith side.
I am 100% agreed with that. I just think it's too much value to pass up, especially all of the tread that's been lost on Derrick Henry's tires now, and especially when you get start getting feet problems, feet issues, any kind of bones going on. That's a big body to be making cuts and to be having any kind of situation going on with your feet. Usually those things they kind of multiply or they spread. Especially when it's fine bones, like it was his little toe, his pinky toe, so who knows what's going to happen again next time he makes a big jump cut, or he's 29 years old now, 28, right?
Yeah.
So things are only going to get worse from now. Nobody can take that kind of workload, especially a guy that's 250 pounds. So I'm 100% on the Davonte Smith and Montgomery side here.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, that's easy. I mean, agreeing's not fun, but hey, it's easy. So, okay. The last one I have here is a tight end. And again, we're talking free agents here, guys that might be able to help your team. There's a lot of need for tight ends around the league as well, just like quarterbacks. And there's a few teams in particular that I'm looking at that are going to make a tight end signing. Jacksonville is number one on my list. If you look at what Doug Peterson's done in the past with tight ends, obviously most recently in Philly with Ertz and Goddard, and previously with Travis Kelce. That's the Andy Reid offense, Kansas City. So we know what the tight end means to Doug Peterson, even looking back in history. So I'd love to see buying a guy like Evan Ingram, who can never seem to stay healthy. He's had drop issues. That whole Giants offense, they all have the same problems, all of them, all the pass catchers. So I don't know what's going on there. I'm willing to give him a pass if I can get him cheap enough. And in this trade, certainly. So this was Evan Ingram for Nico Collins and Noah Gray. And I mean, to me, that's just somebody who's fed up with Evan Ingram. And I get it. That's fine. They're taking what they can and they're getting out. I like Nico Collins. I think he has good opportunity down there in Houston. But for a guy who's probably never going to be more than a wide receiver 3 and a tight end who we'll probably never hear from, honestly, I mean, unless Kelce just retires or gets a season-ending injury or something like that, I just don't think we're going to see a lot from Noah Gray. So to me, I'm going to take the vet who could sign somewhere else, and he will. I don't think he's re-signing in New York. It doesn't make any sense to me. So let's take a shot on a guy who could provide some nice value going forward, especially in these tight end premium leagues.
Yeah, it's he can go to Jacksonville. He can go to what if he goes to Cincinnati? Like they clear house. I know they got a couple tight ends there, but Evan Ingram's an improvement over anybody they have in the roster right now, I think. So Houston needs to build a team. There's a lot of places that he could land that could use a tight end. I don't want to agree. I don't want to agree on all these trades here, but I did like Nico Collins. I'm a Nico Collins fan, but another guy who hasn't really proved his salt so far. And Noah Gray has been passed over on the depth chart a couple times during the season after some injuries. So when Kelce was out for a game or two, spot times, Noah Gray was passed over on the depth chart. So. Right. Evan Ingram just has so much more potential than anybody else in this trade. So that's like you said before, this is somebody that just kind of wanted. They probably have a better tight end. They're just looking to make some roster moves or get somebody off their roster. Sure, exactly. Yeah, that makes sense. So now we got some players who have some spotty. Let's say they're in limbo right now with where they're going to be or what's going on. And my first player is probably my favorite player in the league. My favorite wide receiver, anyway, is Chris Godwin. He couldn't have picked the worst time to have this injury. Going into free agency. Yeah, he was ready to get paid too. He was ready to get paid. He was, as the season went on, he became a better and better receiver. Him and Tom Brady just seemed to click. And then that injury in like week 14, I think it was, just it was terrible. So I don't think he may be forced to come back to Tampa Bay on a 1-year deal. I don't think he's going to get a franchise tag, but he may have to. Because I don't think he's coming back till October next year. So what is he worth to you? What would you trade to get Chris Godwin right now on your team, knowing that he may only play half a year next year, maybe be lackadaisical, or unfulfilling of what you're kind of picture him as in your roster for a whole year next year. So you have to wait 2 years to really get a Chris Godwin back on your fantasy roster. What are you looking to trade to get Chris Godwin on your team? Yeah, and he may not even be full strength until that next year. But here's the thing. I'm going to go back to another Penn State wide receiver, Allen Robinson. And he was coming off a torn ACL. Now, he tore it much earlier in the season, right? So he had more recovery time. But the Bears paid him a lot of money. He was a free agent coming off a torn ACL. The Bears paid him a lot of money. And he got the contract and he was a great player for a few years there. So I think Godwin can do a very similar thing to Allen Robinson there. I think somebody will still pay him. I don't know if Tampa has the money to do it, but we always say that, and the cap doesn't seem to matter for most teams, so they always figure out a way.
I don't know. I don't know. I know the Bucs want to bring him back, but I think somebody be willing to pay him. He's still only 25 years old. He literally just turned 25 years old, so he's still very young. I honestly think he will give him some money. I'm still in on him. If there's a discount right now because of that torn ACL, which obviously there should be, I'm definitely buying. I'm in a startup right now. And so as of a couple days ago, he was drafted in the 6th round with the 605. And this startup happened to have rookie picks in it. Mm-hmm. And the rookie pick 103 went one pick before him. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire went the pick before that. So if we're looking at, talk about disappointing running backs. I'd love to trade Clyde straight up for Godwin.
Yeah, right.
And I would also trade the rookie pick 103 straight up for Godwin. I'd be willing to trade the 101 rookie pick straight up for Godwin. Absolutely. If my team earned that 101, then I'm probably not competing this year anyway. So if it gives Godwin a year to kind of get back and get healthy, and then he's full strength next year, that's perfect. That's perfect for my rebuilding efforts. So I'm absolutely willing to trade away an early pick for him. If somebody's worried about the injury or uncertain free agency, once he signs somewhere, his value is going to go up. His lowest value point was once he tore the ACL because of the certain uncertain future and because of the injury. That's his lowest value. His value is just going to start creeping up now. And then once he signs somewhere, it's going to almost return to previous to injury. So I'm absolutely trading for him any high pick in the 22 class for sure. And I'd maybe even be willing to throw in something on top. I still believe in Godwin wholeheartedly.
I do. Yeah, right. I mean, you can get if you're a rebuilding team and you're looking and Godwin's not going to do anything for a while, or, Malik Willis, obviously somebody like that in this draft, you can Kenny Pickett. I like Kenny Pickett, so I especially if you need a quarterback. But I have would you, if you had the pick that would have been Treylon Burks, would you take that or Chris Godwin?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, I would.
That's kind of where I'm at right now in that situation. And the running backs like the Isaiah Spiller, I don't know if I trust that. I think I just keep Godwin as far as that goes. I'm not a big running back fan. So I would probably, but the receivers coming out, I would, I'm not Garrett Wilson, Drake London, that kind of stuff. I think I just keep Godwin in that situation, but it's close. That's where it starts getting close. So, what do you got? Who's your next guy? Who's your guy?
So my first guy right now is a guy we've talked about recently a lot on Dynasty Junkies, and that's Tua Tagovailoa. Here's the thing. First of all, I was never a fan because he's a lefty, so that just John the Dolphins fan over here. But listen,
I'm waiting for the 3 offensive coordinator thing to come out here.
That's exactly where I'm going with this. Listen, historically, statistically, it has been bad news for quarterbacks that have continually had to turn over that offensive coordinator and learn a new system. Yeah. And listen, he can do it. He can overcome. They're going to put in, I think he's in a great situation as far as Mike McDaniel coming in and bringing in that San Francisco offense. And he's got Jalen Waddle now, and, they'll figure out a running game, obviously, with the Shanahan system. So I think he's in the best position to succeed that he's been in the last 3 years. But having said that, again, statistically, I'm not going to bet on history, right? Anytime it's more likely that he does not ever become a QB1 in the NFL. So because of that, again, it's all price, right? It's all about the right price. If you can get him for, if you can get him below market value, okay. He's going pretty late in startups too, so I don't mind him as like my third quarterback, but I am not relying on him as a franchise quarterback. I'm not giving up any major assets, and for me, I'm willing to pretty much re-roll and take any one of the quarterbacks in this incoming class. If I could get a 23 first, I'd much prefer that. But honestly, I'll take a early first for him in this class, and I'll just re-roll it and grab one of these other quarterbacks and see what happens.
I'm in a situation right now where I have 2 in a couple leagues, and I'm
a couple.
Off. Yeah, I do. I'm a Dolphins fan, and I came across him, so it is what it is. I like him. I think that he still has some. I mean, this is a make or break year. This is pretty much where I'm at right now. He's in a good situation. He's got a good coach. He's got some good receivers. I'm sure they're going to draft another good receiver in the draft this year also. So he may have, if they re-sign Gesicki and they keep the core they have now with Parker and Waddle, and then they bring somebody else in there and then improve the offensive line and get him a running back, in free agency or via the draft. This could be an offense worth keeping Tua in. He's not. He's a good quarterback in a bad situation, and I don't like you said before. And the three offensive coordinator situation is really bad for wide receivers. But I think if he can get his head on straight, start from scratch, and just move in with a whole new revamped offense, maybe Tua could start. This could be like he's still only 25 years old, so I mean He could start from scratch. I'm okay with keeping him for one more year, but I mean. Here's the thing. If he implodes this year, then you're not getting anything for Tua. He's going to be a backup somewhere. He's never going to have another chance. So I'm willing to hold him instead of trading him. But what I'm getting right now for Tua is like the 108, 109. I'm not getting anywhere near 101, 102, even in a super flex. So it's kind of hard to trade him away for things that aren't going to make my roster better. So I'm kind of in the hold to a situation right now.
That's fair.
So, I'll call him a hold, but it is what it is. So
I agree. I'm probably not selling, but if I can get a decent, would you pay the 103 for him right now?
Yes,
you would. Okay, so we would make that trade.
Oh, wait. I thought you meant the other way around.
Would you buy him for the 103? Sorry.
I would take the 103 for him.
You would take the 103.
Yeah,
okay.
No, I would. Right. I don't think because I would rather have Pickett than him.
That's what I mean. I think the quarterbacks are going to move. This happens every year. Oh, the quarterbacks, blah blah blah, and then they're going to start moving up, and they get some draft capital, and then they'll be at the top of rookie drafts. It just happens every year. So, at the 103, if I can get a Willis or a Pickett. A Corral, one of those type of guys, I'll re-roll and take the opportunity on that. Statistically, they say if a quarterback in his first full year starting doesn't hit certain benchmarks, that it's highly unlikely they'll ever be a quarterback one.
Yeah.
There's a study on that, and I could see if I could find it. I don't remember exactly what the benchmarks are, but he didn't hit those obviously, and so it's just unlikely he's ever that guy. But you need quarterbacks in Superflex, so it's hard to trade them unless you can replace them with someone similar or better. And I just think any one of these quarterbacks in this class is going to have an opportunity to. I'll take the unknown over the known non-stud, right?
I'm not sure if I trust Malik Willis in this situation. I know he had he had such a good Senior Bowl day and everything was great, and but. Before that, he was like quarterback 5. He had a good Senior Bowl, and everybody's like, "Oh, look at this guy, he did great."
He's the Trey Lance of this class.
Yeah, I just feel like he's. I don't know. I think who would you rather have, Trey Lance or Malik Willis?
Trey Lance.
Yeah, 100%.
Because I know where he is.
Yes, and he's about to. Yeah, I guess that's the other thing. Yeah, where it depends on where Willis lands, but
it does. Yeah, landing spot's going to be a big thing for these rookies.
Yeah, no, I would think that anywhere past like 104, probably 105, 106, like anywhere 106 is even pushing it.
I think 106 is my cutoff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
You'd be a hold at that time. So.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
All right. Elijah Mitchell. Now this is kind of everybody's, as the year went on last year, he became everybody's, go-to love fest running back, but there's just so much going on. If Trey Lance is the quarterback, how many rushes is he going to take? How many rushing yards is he going to take away from Mitchell? And then Jeff Wilson's coming back, right? And they're got to do. They paid a first-round pick for Sermon. They're going to have to do something with Trey Sermon. I think a year. Because last year, right before the beginning of the season, he did something stupid and he got to get coach's doghouse. I think that's mainly most of the reason why he wasn't playing the first couple of games. And then. Mitchell
Sermon was a 3rd-round pick.
Oh, he was You know what? He
Third
was
round.
a first-round rookie pick. I guess
First round rookie pick. He was a third-round NFL pick. Yeah, sorry, just to clarify.
Just to clarify, he was like 112 or 2.
Yeah, he was. He went 12 in one of our leagues.
Yeah,
he was 112 in the one we did together.
A third-round pick for a running back in the NFL draft still is pretty decent draft capital for a running back. Anyway, there's not many first-round pick running backs anymore. But there's just and Deebo Samuel gets a lot of
that's the concerning thing for me.
There's just so many players that touch the ball in this offense. With Garoppolo didn't run that much, but it's going to be a whole situation where Elijah Mitchell right now, in order to get. What do you have to pay to get Elijah Mitchell right now? You're going to have to overpay because everybody loves him. They think he's going to be the future of this offense. If I had Elijah Mitchell, I'd be selling him right now as soon as possible.
Yeah, I'm surprised his value isn't a little bit higher, even though I do agree. In the startup I'm in right now, he just went at pick 803. So in the 8th round, I think that's probably fair. He did get good volume when he was playing, but again, you're exactly right. That was with Jimmy G. And then we know statistically that typically the running backs are hurt by the running quarterbacks because they're going to lose touchdown opportunities, goal line work, and just general opportunities overall. So he may be more efficient, but we're not sure if that volume will keep up. And you know how that system works. They always just find guys and they plug them in. There'll be some undrafted guy or Hasty, Jermichael Hasty's still around. He's always looked good when he's been in there. So yeah, I mean, in my opinion, always in the past, I've said, hey, let's hit on these Shanahan backs. If we can pick them up in the 3rd round and they could produce, and then I could sell them for a first, something like that. Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to take my profits and I'll put that into somebody else.
Another thing with these guys, when you have a running quarterback, what don't they do? They don't dump off the running backs. They run the ball. That's another, he's not going to have the PPR value that some running backs will with a pocket quarterback. He's not going to have the Austin Eckler out of the backfield situations ever. You're never going to get that, So I don't think he'll have the volume. Obviously not. He won't have any of the things that would make him a PPR stud.
He didn't even catch a lot of passes last year as it was. So, yeah, right. You're right. I don't think he's catching many at all.
No. So that's just somebody that I think is way overvalued right now that I would sell in a heartbeat if I had the opportunity to. So who's your number 2?
Agreed. Okay. The next one for me is Michael Thomas. He just turned 28 years old. He's a guy I never liked anyway. Granted, I was wrong. So I'll take the L on that. He was obviously a stud there for a while. They can save a little bit of money with cutting him, but he's still a $22.7 million dead cap if they cut him. So I don't think anyone's trading for that contract at this point, but I guess crazier things have happened. Listen, if Carson Wentz can be traded, anybody can be traded, in my opinion. But I don't see anyone trading for him, especially with some of the issues he's had recently, basically just quitting last year. And we don't know what his injury situation is. And, with that dead cap hit, I don't see him getting traded or cut. He's kind of at the point for me where if I have him anywhere, which I think I only have 1 or 2 shares left, I'm looking to get out. A recent trade I saw was for the 202. I'm not sure I would do that. It just seems like such a small return for his potential upside. I mean, if he comes back and plays this year, he's obviously going to give you a better return than most likely whatever you're getting at the 202. So it's kind of hard to sell him, but if you can get anything on the name value, maybe package him with a pick, throw in your late first and Michael Thomas and get yourself, a Deontay Johnson or somebody else whose value is down a little bit right now because of a unstable quarterback situation or unknown quarterback situation. Something like that, I'm definitely willing to do. But otherwise, you might just have to hold, see if he comes back and plays this year, and then maybe you can ship him off. But where are you at on Michael Thomas? Do you have any shares, and what are you doing with him?
No, the last year I had, I got Drew Brees and Michael Thomas from you, and I think I gave you Josh Allen when he was
Dak,
about to submarine his value.
It was Dak.
It was Dak. Okay.
Dak got hurt. You needed a quarterback. So I gave you Breeze and threw in Thomas.
Thanks a lot. I really appreciate
thank you. I do thank you for that. Thank you. It brought me a championship last year. So.
So he's, I see there's some in some of these trade finders. I see like Michael Thomas for Rashad Bateman. Michael Thomas for a 2022 second round pick. Michael Thomas for Ronald Jones and a couple picks.
Oh, I would not do that.
No, I wouldn't do that either. Saquon Barkley and Michael Thomas for a 2022 first and a third. I would keep Thomas and Barkley. I would never.
Yeah, I probably would too.
Michael Thomas for Miles Sanders.
Ooh, no, thank you.
No, thank you. Michael Thomas, I don't think he's going back to the Saints. And we talked about the salary cap a couple times here. I don't think the salary cap's even been established this year because they're getting all that extra TV money right now, right? So people are over the salary cap from last year.
We don't know what it is yet.
I heard it's going up like $42 million from last year.
Remember, it went down last year, and so this year it's not only going to get that normal increase, but it may get an extra increase. So you're right. A lot of these teams are gonna the salary cap picture is going to open up for them. But I'll tell you, the Saints right now are the worst position. They're 76 million over projected for 22. So I don't care if it goes up 50 million, they're still in big trouble.
But that Mickey Rooney guy that's in charge of the Saints every year. He's like $70 million over the salary cap.
Yeah.
He's like a magician with that kind of stuff.
True.
So I honestly think they're going to Michael Thomas. I don't think there's going to be something, nagging injuries. He just seems like a kind of guy that does not want to be there, and he's going to make it known he doesn't want to be there and find ways not to be on the field. They're going to have to get rid of him, eat some of his contract, do whatever they can. And I still think he's got a couple good years left in him. He had a foot injury, and it was a kind of a serious foot injury because it compounded as he tried playing after it was misdiagnosed. So,
right.
But he had a whole year off now, and they found out what it was. Hopefully, it healed with rehabilitation and some screws and pins, whatever they put in people's feet now. But I think that he's going to go somewhere and be a fantasy stud for a couple of years on the right team. If he goes to a team like, if he goes across, who's a good slant? He can go to. Where would be a good team for him to fall where he could be useful right from the get-go?
You'd have to find somebody that's willing to take on the contract or a big portion of it.
Personality too.
That starts limiting. And then that's the other thing is you probably want to find a veteran quarterback because he seemed to figure it out with Breeze. But then once Breeze was gone, he was just like, yeah, screw it. I'm not dealing with anything. So, the teams with cap space, an interesting spot could be like the Chargers if Mike Williams doesn't re-sign there and Keenan Allen's getting older, but Allen's still under contract for one more year and they basically play the same position. So it's pretty unlikely. Maybe the Colts, the Colts could be an interesting situation, but again, they need to figure out their quarterback.
Yes, right.
Washington is known to, Dan Snyder to make those kind of dumb moves in the past. So, maybe they bring him in to play inside while McLaurin's playing the X. It's possible you could see a couple teams like that make those moves.
Chiefs, but the Rams to replace OBJ.
It's hard to fathom the Chiefs. You can never rule out the Rams for anything because they'll literally take anyone and pay any amount because they don't. LA doesn't have a salary cap, so don't worry about that. I don't know if they have any more firsts to give up, but maybe in 2028. So
Buffalo, Arizona's going to lose a couple receivers this year. There's a handful of places that he could
Arizona doesn't have much cap space, but yeah, I'm sure they, maybe, I don't know, with Kyler's situation right now, I don't know if he's going to have much respect for that. So who knows?
It's kind of a funny situation. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. He's a tough player. If I had to right now, I'd probably see if he does go somewhere else, any value bump that he gets, I'd be looking to sell. I just want to sell that guy. I want to get rid of him. I don't want anything to do with him.
He was such a coveted quarterback when the season started last year, and this kind of season without Hopkins for a year really it showed his true colors, and it's not what people wanted to see. And Hopkins is already 30 years old; he's gonna be around forever, so he's gonna have to. I think Hopkins made him more than he made Hopkins. I know that's
no doubt.
Yeah. So, my last guy we talked about before, Calvin Ridley, wide receiver unknown. We already kind of discussed him a little bit, so I'm not sure if I should pick somebody else and just kind of finish off the calendar.
Yeah, we can just kind of. So
Ridley's,
I guess final thoughts on Ridley. Are you looking to sell? Or are you looking to buy? What are you doing with him?
I'm looking to buy, but for the right price.
Okay.
He's I think he's going to go. Like I said before, I don't think it's a mental situation.
Okay.
I think it's more of a money situation, a new contract, new team, new fresh start somewhere else. So that's just where I'm at with him.
He's still on his rookie deal, so he's not gotten paid yet. And I mean, I definitely think that makes sense. But remember, he came out as an older rookie, so he's already 27. He's kind of similar to Michael Thomas, Terry McLaurin, where they were older when they came out. So yeah, I mean, the next year for 22 is his 5th year option because he was a first round pick, and so he would actually make a base salary of 11.1 million. So that makes it easier, I guess, for him to start getting paid, but it also makes it harder for the team because his dead cap is that entire amount, 11.1 million. So if they were to cut or trade him, that's definitely going to hurt. And Atlanta's got a lot of cap issues right now too, trying to turn over that roster. So it makes it better, but it also makes it worse at the same time. So let's
talk about some guys that is going around Calvin Ridley, just to kind of put this in perspective. Like, would you take, we just talked about, would you take Elijah Mitchell for Calvin Ridley?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Davonte Smith?
Yes.
Chris Godwin?
Yes.
David Montgomery?
Yeah, I guess if I'm competing right now and I want to win this year, I probably would. Yeah.
Keenan Allen?
Oof. His age and his situation makes me start leaning towards the potential of Ridley. So even though he's not that much older, but even buying back a couple of years, I think I'd be more towards Ridley. That'd be one of those where you could throw something on top and I'd probably get it done.
These are close, and right around like Mike Williams area, I think. It would take Mike Williams plus something to get Ridley. Yeah,
it starts tipping towards Ridley at that point. Yeah, so he's right in that rate. What do you know where that was? Wide receiver, what, 20? 18, 20, somewhere in that range?
Shit, no, I don't even know.
Okay. I think that's right around there. 18, 20 is that'd be for the wide receiver position. So like a low end too at this point. That makes sense. Anyone around that range who's younger or doesn't have any of these issues, I'm going to take the safer player. Once you start getting lower than that, if those guys' upsides are capped or age-wise, then I'll lean towards the risk and the upside of Ridley.
Yeah, I don't expect to have – if I do trade for Ridley, I'm not expecting him to come on my team and automatically be my wide receiver 1. He's going to be my wide receiver 2, possibly even my wide receiver 3 on my fantasy team. So I'm not spending the world to get him, but I would like to have him as my wide receiver 2. That would be – especially if he lands somewhere good. Yeah.
For sure, yeah.
All right, who's your last guy?
Okay, my final guy is Darren Waller. Again, he's an older player. He kind of got a late start to his career. Granted, tight ends can play a little later. That's fine. That offense, John Gruden's offense, ran through Darren Waller. That was always run through the tight end. It didn't matter who else was on the roster. That's how they were doing it. Tight end pass catchers, limit running back pass catchers. We know that in the past. Now we've got Josh McDaniels in there. We know that they'll also use the tight end in that offense. And so because of that, that might hold his value. And so that will give you the opportunity to sell, but they're going to bring in more players. They gotta remember they lost Ruggs, right? So, and Edwards has been a bust. So Renfro's in the slot. They really need some outside receivers. They're going to draft and or sign somebody. And I don't believe in Derek Carr is going to be there long-term. So, I'm moving on from Waller now. While his value's still holding well, if he's still considered a top 5 dynasty tight end, I'm going to absolutely move on from him. Anybody I can get, if I can move down a tier in tight end and pick up something else, or even if I can just move on. And there's a couple of trades that I found. Darren Waller for a 22 first and a 23 second. I would take the picks. Darren Waller for Amon-Ra St. Brown. I would take Brown maybe plus a third. So that's pretty close. Waller for Goddard and Gainwell. I don't like Gainwell too much, and the fact that they're both on the same team, but along those lines, a trade like that makes sense where you're moving down a tier to Goddard, but Goddard's younger, and then you're getting a piece on top. Something like that makes a little bit more sense to me. But I am if I had any shares of Waller left, I would be 100% selling. Let's move on from him and get out before his value starts to get on the wrong side of peak.
Starts. I think that second half of last season, I think it really kind of, it really kind of plummeted. So
this is your last chance to get out before it does. Yeah.
Yeah, because when the season starts next year, if he has a couple of bad games, it's over with. So,
yep.
I'm looking for some trade finder stuff here. TJ in a tight end premium league, like we're talking about, TJ Hockenson and a 2024 for Waller and 2/3.
Oh yeah, Hockenson. By a mile. Yeah,
that's not even question.
No, I love that. Yeah, I'd go get Hawk right away.
Here's one: Trevor Lawrence for Darren Waller. This is.
Oh God, yeah, Trevor Lawrence. Oh my God.
I would please. And that's send the guy up some kind of a thank you package, in the mail. Wine club of the month or something. Thank you very much.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah. But well, cool, man. Well, this is kind of our little thing here. Hopefully we do this on the reg, once a week. We'll call this the day trade show. And I appreciate you coming on, spend your time. I know you had some stuff going on at home this morning, and I got to go back to work midnight tonight. So we were kind of looking at a half-hour show, but it went an hour. Like every show I'm on, I don't think I've ever been on a show.
That's what we do, man. That's what we do.
I don't think I've ever been on a show in my life that's gone less than 55 minutes or an hour. So, but Scott, thanks so much for coming on, and everybody out there, thank you very much. We'll be looking forward to seeing you hopefully on a weekly basis here. So, I don't want to say junkies out or anything like that, but we'll have our own thing. Day trader out. Ring the bell or something.
Day traders out. See ya.
Later.